What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Sunbelt Syndicate, the OG version, as TJ and I got this thing started with the video podcast together as a tandem with you from the first kick to the last pitch. Quick shout out to our sponsors, Don't Sleep Energy. Find them on their Amazon shop. Get it shipped to your door. Make it real nice and easy. Those little shot of energy have been really useful lately as we stay up late to do this stuff for you guys. Phenom Elite as well at your local Dick's Sporting Goods. TJ, how we doing tonight, man?
We're good, man. We're good. Had some Tuesday night football. Tuesday's usually that day that's like, here goes Tuesday. Because, you got a game on Wednesday, obviously Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And then Tuesday rolls around and it's like, oh, Tuesday. Yeah. But had us some good football last night. Wasn't good for all four quarters.
No.
We'll get into that a little bit later. But we had a couple drives put together on those last two that made it worth watching. So yeah, pretty good, man. How about you?
Yeah, not too bad. Like from a couple minutes ago, I texted you and let you know I'm solo parenting tonight as the wife is getting to do something fun that she really wanted to take part in with her mom. So I was like reading and then I was like, all right, buddy, I'll see you later. And we're like running downstairs.
Yeah.
He knows what we do. So,
Yeah. You got to do what you got to do, man. So.
Yeah, if I could trust that he would go upstairs and like do a little like, hey, how's everybody doing? And then I could tell him to go take care of everything himself. I would have let that happen, but it still needs a little bit of help getting settled in for the night.
I'm hit or miss.
Yeah, it's usually mom that takes care of a lot of that stuff, especially on Wednesdays. But obviously tonight it was all me. I did try to get him a boo bucket at McDonald's, no free ads, but they weren't serving the boo buckets yet, man. So he just got a toy. Yeah, did you have one when you were a kid? Was that a thing for you? Did you collect them things or anything?
I don't remember, man. That was a very long time ago.
It was.
I don't remember. I remember like a lot of the not action figure, but like the little toy Hamburglar and what's the purple guy?
Grimace.
Grimace, yeah. They had those collectibles, but I don't know that I've ever had a boo bucket. Maybe I did. Yeah. Who knows?
I only remember it because I actually used it to trick or treat with, right? Like when you were a certain age, like it was a good sized bucket. It wasn't huge. It wasn't real tiny. And then it came with like a lid. It looked like one was like a pumpkin looking thing and one looked like a witch. I mean, I think there was 3 or 4. I mean, it wasn't like a big line of these things, but it was kind of a cool thing that I remember from childhood because you could kind of use it as like a decoration, When you're cheap and you're in the military family, you just use that stuff that you already had.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're not going to buy new things. What do you mean?
No. Nope, they work just fine.
Absolutely.
Artie Cat and Ben James already joined in the stream, having a little side conversation before we got going. I was putting some of that up, so that's pretty cool. Oh, Russ from the Thundercast podcast. It's also it's Monopoly season at McDonald's. So not sure if that's overlapping the buckets promotion or not. Yeah, they definitely were pushing the McDonald's and the toys like a K-pop thing. I have no idea. I'm totally lost.
Yeah. Again, I wouldn't be able to tell you.
This show's not going to turn into a McDonald's promotion, but they are doing Monopoly. After the biggest scam of all time when they did it the first go around or whatever. Yeah. Boys' night for Artie Cat saying that's what we were having here. Make sure the house is clean before wife gets back home, and don't try. I don't ever cook. Really. I don't have the TJ skills on my side, unfortunately. So pizza and ordering out is my specialty, unfortunately. For me, but I don't know. TJ, have you been grilling a lot lately? I mean, the weather's been like perfect for grilling, like not too hot, definitely not cold. Yeah. So has that been a lot more for you?
So did some wings tonight, hot honey and some regular barbecue. Just ate those about 45 minutes ago before coming up here. So yes, to answer your question, absolutely.
Nice.
It could be 12 degrees outside. If my grill gets hot, I'll cook on it.
There you go. I like that. I know Russ is, a big grill guy too, but TJ, I've gotten to take yours in and I can say A+, fantastic stuff, especially because you had some wings when I was over there. So that was definitely a treat for me because I'd heard about them, but I hadn't gotten to try them myself. And then definitely not disappointed when I got to actually get over there and try some out.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, and Russ is saying hell yes to that.
We fired the grills up over here, Russ.
Yeah, there we go. He's got a part of the Dead Meat Society. Is a guy in a promotion that they're dealing with over there on the side, and I don't know all the ins and outs of that, but they're hitting it pretty hard. I've started following them, and he's the guy that's like running the socials and everything. I'm not sure if he's the sole owner or whatnot, but he's all over. He was like in Vegas doing something. Anyway, go check out the Thundercast. They do a great job. They just had Squaring Around podcast, which is the Texas State podcast, as we'll get into the Texas State versus Marshall matchup a little bit later. So go check that out. Two great podcasts getting together to do a preview of that specific matchup for you guys. It's good stuff. Both of those guys do great stuff. Squaring Around guys definitely have some good personalities. I think they're probably they're one of the younger crews that does the podcast scene. So they've got some fun takes and some interesting stuff that they do there. And already Cat saying Marine style. Yeah, that's for the box of ammo and candy, an ammo box for your candy. That's awesome.
Nice.
Artie Cat says he met them at the bowl game, Squaring Around guys. So that's awesome. Yeah.
Nice.
And I'm sure they'll continue on as they get into Pac-12 days, but we will get into the Week 8 preview. As we know, Carlos Del Rio Wilson, kind of our cover athlete for the week as it be. Just absolutely phenomenal stuff from last week, which, again, we don't necessarily wrap up the previous week too much, but we do talk on it just to kind of refresh everyone's memory about what we'll see going into this next week of action. So let's get through the playbook for tonight. Of course, we'll have Looking Good. Come on, bro. TJ's favorite one. We're actually going to skip the awards because I didn't get to put all the graphics together for all of those. So unfortunately, that one's not on the playbook for tonight. We're going to go over the games of the week, the ones that you got to look at somebody and say, you better win this one. We're going to round it out with all the other games, and we're going to get into our newest segment, Best Bets. We've been having a lot of fun with that one, and we've been posting that one up as well. But first, we are going to get into TJ's clip breakdown, and it looks like we're going to have 2 tonight. We were supposed to have 3. YouTube TV, we're going to pull your sponsorship. Just put the dollars back to our account because we haven't been quite helpful tonight like we were hoping for. But this first one, I think, which one do I have for first? This first one is going to be from the Louisiana and JMU game up in Harrisonburg, Virginia, from this past Saturday. And this one's going to feature a touchdown pass from Barnett to Landon Ellis. He's going to be at the bottom. He's the wide receiver at the bottom of your screen here. Again, first time, full speed, and then we'll slow it down as TJ kind of explains what he sees. And this one's going to be a good one because TJ, being a former wide receiver, is going to have a lot to say probably about the route and maybe about the defense, but we'll see.
Yeah, man. So, like I said, you get yourself lined up here. In most cases, when you've got one-on-one with your best receiver, that's probably going to be where the ball goes. I think we froze up a little bit. And I have to bring it back.
Well, we'll run it back.
A little bit because it froze up just a hair. Yeah. Uh-oh.
Oh, the whole thing froze up. Man, we're having all kinds of trouble. Come on, YouTube TV.
At least they know it's not us. It's the TV. But yeah, so I mean, just a quick little pivot.
All right, well, we've seen it in full motion. Let's see if we can slow it.
Yeah. So let me
see really if making it.
See what we got.
There we go.
So with a pivot route, the one thing that you'll notice that the receiver is always going to try to do is you want to give him sort of a move as if you're running the slant route, which is typically how this play comes off. And you got him to overcommit, open his hips. But the key to making that pivot route work is you got to stick that right foot in the ground hard and drive outside hard, right? Because if you don't, and you got to maintain great balance. You got to be square. Your hips have got to be low. You got to be sitting down, as they say, sitting down on that route because if you don't, you come out, you risk falling down, those kinds of things. So you want to make sure that you get the defender, first of all, squared up, which he is currently. He's playing square over him. Now you've got him beat to the inside. He's thinking it's selling inside, and it's just a great pivot route on the way out. Now, I don't agree with the slamming the ball and getting in his face kind of deal. That could have easily been a flag. But it was all around a really good route, really good play call too. You get like you said, in these kind of situations, you want your best route runner that's over there. He may not be your best receiver per se, but you certainly want your best route runner, the one that has the best center of gravity and the best feet. Because, like I said, you got to work him up, stick it inside, boom, drop hard on that right foot, and watch him get out. That's perfect. I mean, that's perfect. That's a great route, and those are kind of plays that get you touchdowns.
Yeah, and one thing I'll ask you, like defensively, you see a guy that low, that close to the line of scrimmage there. What's your thought as a wide receiver? Like, I know I have this, or is this actually a really good defensive technique to try and jam them at the line kind of thing? Like, I as an outsider, I don't know what I'm seeing here in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, when you get down to this area of the field, you can almost, for the most part, predict that it's going to be a man coverage. I mean, so it really doesn't matter his alignment. The only thing that you're wanting him to do is make him think that you're trying to beat him inside. And once you get him to commit to going inside, then you can boom, pop it back out. But there's not really a whole lot to see here. I mean, if you're a defender, I mean, he's in good position. It's a great route. It's just one of those double moves that it's hard to account for because he's thinking slant right now. And as soon as he thinks slant, he pops right back out. So there's nothing that the DB honestly could have done better to even make that play.
Gotcha. Okay. That makes sense there to me. Let's get rid of some of these other ones. I want to throw this back. Artie says that play was so cold it freezes. That was a heck of a route run. I mean,
it was.
You said it doesn't have to be James Madison's best wide receiver. Landon Ellis is probably James Madison's best wide receiver.
Well, yeah.
So it just happens to work out.
Usually your best route runner and your best wide receiver kind of go hand in hand, but in some cases, not always.
That's true. That's a good point. Oh, thank you, Artie. Seriously, graphics have been great. So, yeah, we're trying to work on that. I've thrown in a couple extra, but spoiler, they're kind of from the previews that we'll put out this week. And then we'll get to Ben James's comment. But we're going to go to a play that specifically TJ picked out from last night. So let's bring this one up on screen. This one from the Arkansas State versus South Alabama game that we saw on television last night. TJ, you want to tell them what they're going to see here in this one?
So before you hit anything, before you hit play, yep. I want everybody to take a look at where the alignment of the ball is. It being on the left hash. So I'm going to, spoiler alert, the ball's coming out to the wide receiver at the bottom of your screen, just so everybody's aware. But the alignment of where the ball is going to be key in terms of making this play work, because what's going to end up happening is this defender here at the bottom of this corner, he's going to get frozen in just a second when we run this play. So just keep that in mind. Go ahead and roll the clip in regular speed, and then we'll break it down here shortly.
Okay.
So at first glance, it's just a slant route, catch it, ball's a little bit behind, but slant route, he caught it, scored a touchdown. That's great. All of that's great, good execution, all of that. But I'm going to tell you what happens to get this set up. So what Hunter Summer, he's a receiver down here at the bottom. What he's going to do, because of the way the ball is aligned and because of where the ball is on the left hash, he can cut his split almost all the way down and make it a situation where that corner doesn't know if he's going inside or outside release. So what ends up happening is now he's got to play for a potential fade route to the back end zone. And that scares him to death because he's got to play him head up, right? There's a fade route that could happen to him right in the back end zone. Now watch his hips. Watch when Hunter Summer, when he gets up to the top of his route, he's going to make a quick jab step to the right, and that's going to open Javon Henderson's left foot. And as soon as he opens that left foot, that's where that inside route really gets his traction. And that's why there's so much separation here, is because when this play happens, when that outside foot, when he stabs with that outside foot, Javon Hunter, his left foot is going to turn right now. Now look at that space because he's scared to death of getting beat on a go ball. So he's making sure he doesn't protect you. He protects the outside, and in doing so, he gives up the inside. He could not have been right, probably. Depending on what side he took. However, he chose the outside, and he got burnt. But that was all set up by the route running of Hunter Summer. Great, again, not a great ball, but it's certainly a great route, and that's how the separation was there. So again, one more time, boom, step with that right foot, and that's teach tape. I mean, that is technical route running. It's outstanding. Great job by Hunter Summer.
Nice. He's been one of my favorite wide receivers this year. I saw something personally this is where you look a little bit at the stats from an outside perspective and you go, wow, he's been doing pretty good. He's done this well or done that well. And I saw that last season he was coming on stronger towards the end of the year. And it made me believe that he was going to have a pretty good year this year. And obviously Corey Rucker comes back and you're like, well, maybe he won't be overly productive because Rucker's going to take a lot of the receptions, a lot of the possible catches in that regard. But he's done really well too. He's outperformed Rucker in a few games. And maybe that's because Rucker's getting doubled or whatnot. But yeah, I mean, Hunter Summers might be the next big wide receiver in the Sun Belt Conference. It's just unfortunate for Ben James as he's saying so many penalties in last night's game. Yes, but
oh my God, it was a flag fest.
Yeah, it looked like my shirt out there. I mean, it was just all over the ground. So
it's tough to watch.
It was tough to watch. I know. I saw that from every single person I think that was trying to watch that game. It was a rough start to watch that game. And that's the unfortunate part, right? You only get so many opportunities as a Sun Belt to like showcase things. And these two teams haven't been the greatest, right? But we've had both teams play well in certain games, and we've had some really good players on both sides of the ball. It's like, come on, let's showcase this good stuff. And like you said, it came on later, and we'll talk about that, but it wasn't great to start with. And unfortunately, in that regard, you probably lose a lot of viewers when it's like, yeah, this isn't what I'm going to stick around and watch. And that's not the good part of what happened last night. But we'll see what transpires throughout the rest of the weekend. But we'll get back into talking about that game a little bit more. And I think I got to go full screen here, right? Oh, I am full screen. I guess that's a weird graphic the way it's showing that up. I don't know why it's showing it like that. But, here we go. Nope, that's not fixing it. Very strange. I don't know why it's doing that. Anyways, we continue. Arkansas State beats South Alabama 15-14 last night. And as you can see in the graphic here from the recap that is on sunbeltsyndicate.com, as a reminder, we are trying to preview and recap every single football game. We're working on basketball in the background right now. But TJ, we'll skip the whole first half essentially, but tell us what you saw in the second half that made this one a pretty good finish.
Well, I think in the second half, I think what happened is Jalen Raynor kind of found his stride, right? He decided what kind of quarterback he wanted to be. He took over the game both with his legs and with his arm. I mean, anytime your quarterback is your leading rusher, that's not always good, right? Unless you're Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson. Apart from that, like, you don't want your quarterback to be your leading rusher. However, Jalen Raynor decided last night in the second half that he was going to take over. He ended the game with 76 rushing yards, 209 passing yards, and in the passing, you saw the last passing touchdown to put him kind of, at least in that position to win the game. So I think for me, that what stood out was, now part two of that is South Alabama with the running attack really came on in their last drive as well. It was kind of one of those things where it kind of came down to who was going to have the ball last. And I think the difference to me in the game was there was a missed field goal and there was a made field goal. And that, that's what's always going to do it. You get, if South Alabama makes their field goal, that's 17 points. There's nothing really that Arkansas State would have been able to do, in my opinion, to come back short of a Hail Mary of some kind. So, but Arkansas State hung in there. Jalen Raynor hung in there. Great. Like I said, to me, he was the player of the game if I had to pick one, outside of the kicker, because, he won the game.
Right. Yeah. How far what does it feel like when there's a guy who comes on, wins a game like that, and like, obviously Clune Van Andel is known as a great kicker. He was, I think, the only kicker in the conference to be named to the preseason awards list for kickers across the country. So, I mean, it wasn't like a surprise that this guy's good. But what does it feel like as like a position player who's out there grinding away throughout like all 3 downs all the time, sometimes 4th down, and then this guy comes in to like kick 3 times a game and wins the game? He's the hero. How much do you guys love that?
I love it. I mean, listen, when Julian Roush kicked that field goal against Michigan, I didn't care how it happened. I just wanted him to make it. The thing that you hate though is being on the other side of that coin. And, you do all of that work and you fight your tail off for 59 minutes and 54 seconds. And a kicker comes along and he doesn't make the field goal. And, doesn't make you feel happy and it doesn't make you feel, but you got to deal with it. It's these things that, it's part of the game. It's part of life. It happens. Unfortunately, somebody's going to be on the right side of that. Somebody's going to be on the wrong side of that. But as a player, for me, I never cared how we won. I just wanted to win.
Makes sense. I like it. Going back through this, I was trying to fix this, so I think I got it. All right, so we'll jump from that game to looking good, since let's be honest, like you said, till the end of that one, not looking great overall as a conference as far as showcasing what we want people to see. But we've got Carlos Del Rio Wilson over here, who again was kind of our cover athlete for this week's action on Week 8 preview. So just to recap some of the teams that looked better from last week, James Madison has that great second half where they shut out the Cajuns, right? They were down at the half, but they shut out the Cajuns in the second half, end up winning at home 24-14 in that one. Coastal Carolina beats up on ULM 23-8. That was a crazy, rainy game that was just ugly. But Coastal takes care of business at home there in Conway. And then, TJ, I'm going to let you take the last 2 there to talk about just quick thoughts on those 2.
Yeah, App State really had I don't want to call it a bounce back game. I mean, it's one of those games that you should win and you do what you're supposed to do, right? Like you go out and you take care of business. You're supposed to beat Georgia State. You're supposed to beat them by a lot, and that's what happened. That's what they did. So I'm not going to give them too much credit for having done that. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. However, it does put you kind of on that train of getting back to where you're supposed to be as a ball club and as a football team. So, and same thing with Marshall. I will say this: I'm surprised by how many points they scored on ODU. ODU's calling card has been defense, right? Or at least in the past couple years, it has been. It's surprising to see that they especially Marshall. Not that Marshall's incapable, because we talked about this, you and I, beginning of the season and towards the end of last season. It's sort of Jekyll and Hyde with Marshall, right? Marshall can give you 48 points and they can give you 4 points. It's just, it's you never know who you're going to get. And so this was one of those games where they came out, put their best foot forward. I was surprised by ODU letting that many points go, but certainly happy for Marshall that they finally get, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, ODU beat up on them last year, right?
Oh, man, last year? That's a good question. That is a great question that I was ill prepared for. Off the top of my head.
I'm pretty sure ODU beat up on them last year. You keep going with the slides. I'll take a look.
All right. I was going to say Marshall was the conference champs last year, so I want to say they beat ODU, but, that could have been one of those ones that they dropped or something. No, Marshall won 42-35 last year, so it was a close game.
Okay, gotcha. All right, well, more of the same.
Yeah. But I mean, just surprised from the outside. ODU I thought was knocking on the door of a top 25 team, maybe even deservedly so before this week happened. If you really broke down some numbers, but App State victory any more impressive after how close of a game Georgia State played with JMU the week before, that 14-7 final, or is that really just different teams matched up differently? It doesn't mean anything.
I think it's the latter of what you said, and partially because of 2 reasons, right? Number one is we talked about this. When you get into conference play, you never know what week you're going to get a team standing out, from good to great, right, or from bad to good. So it could have been one of those games where JMU wasn't necessarily having their best game and Georgia State was. It's you can't really gauge it when you're in conference play. It's more the non-conference schedules when you find out like, oh, they beat them by 50 or beat them by 20 or beat them by 3. And that's kind of a tell of what that is. But when you get into conference play, you know each other, you match up well. And it's just like you said, it's a game of sometimes who matches up better with who. And I think in this scenario, App State was just a bad matchup for Georgia State.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense. All right, come on, bro. We got the ULM versus Northwestern game still on here. And the reason for that, we'll start off with them. ULM, only 15 total points in their last 2 games combined. They have scored 1 time in each game, essentially, if you want to look at it that way. That's not good. And one of those was a Big Ten opponent, so you do have to think about that. A Big Ten opponent who went in and beat Penn State the following week. So, right, like maybe we underestimated Northwestern and ULM's ability to beat them. But you feel like you have to rebound to do better that following week against Coastal, who's a conference opponent. Your offense seems to be predicated on keeping it on the ground, controlling the clock. That wet, rainy game seems like it's a perfect opportunity for you to take advantage, and you didn't. So I think that one's going to be like, come on, bro, you gotta show me something more. This was that, hey, ULM's going to start taking over a little bit here and showing us what they've got, and that hasn't transpired just yet. Georgia State has now lost 3 straight games. Again, good showing against JMU the week before, but not a good one against App State till the very late in that game when Cameron Brown came back in and started moving the offense a little better. I'm wondering if they're going to fully commit to him at any point. Talked about that. Maybe now we're going to see it because we don't know what's left for TJ Finley. Commit to Cameron Brown. I don't know. TJ, you've seen some of those situations maybe in the past with football that you've played. But, I mean, do you rather kind of commit to the young guy, see what he's got, or do you go with the veteran leadership and hope that turns stuff around?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to dance with the girl that brought me, to be honest. And in this case, I'm going to stay with TJ Finley. And listen, you get to a point where you think it can't get worse, right? You know, we've now lost 3 straight games. If we go to the freshman, or excuse me, we go to the young guy. He's a freshman, right?
I think so. I think he's a true freshman.
Yeah, if we go to the freshman, it can't get worse. But you know, you want to give the starting quarterback an opportunity to right the ship, and that's I think what we're doing. And 2, you got to think about it this way: there's a lot of season left. I mean, we're in what is this, week 8? You know, we got I think it's 5-6 games left in the season. I mean, 5 games left. You know, we've got an opportunity here to right the ship, to turn it around. Again, we won't place. We probably, if we're Georgia State, we probably won't place, and we probably won't see a bowl game. But there's still time, and it's still possible. But they've got to get it together, and they've got to get it together quickly.
Is there any thought process now, and this wasn't a part of it really when you were playing, but is there any thought process in your mind if you were a head coach somewhere that, like, I don't really want to play this freshman because what if he looks great, but we're still not much better, and now I got to worry about him being gone next year, right? Like, I mean, is that a thing you'd even think about as a coach, or that part is just if it happens, it happens. You just got to play your cards?
Yeah, I don't think that's something that crosses your mind. I mean, even with the NIL and even with the transfer portal the way it is right now, I don't think you let that thought cross your mind. I think if you're a coach, the one thing you're looking at is, one, go win football games, right? That's the first thing. Thing 2 is, what am I going to do when we're not winning football games that keeps me saving my job? And if that means putting in the freshman, and even if we lose, he still looks good while we're doing it, that lets at least leadership know that I'm trying to do everything that I can to make this thing work, right? So I don't think you think about if he leaves, if he stays, if any of this stuff happens. I think you ride it out. And to be quite honest, if I'm Georgia State, I don't know that there's a lot of people, other schools scouting my team right now anyway. So you take the risk of whatever it is that comes with that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Makes a lot of sense there. All right, we'll finish up with Texas State. I mean, they just can't finish games. They've scored plenty of points in these last 2, but they can't get that ultimate whatever it is. And then Artie Cat's got a good comment that we'll share here. If you listen to the Texas State press conferences, it seems the coaches must have been ripping hits from a Snoop Dogg skull bomb because everything's all right, according to them.
That is hilarious.
Oh man. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is all right a little bit offensively, right? They're putting the ball
I was
into
gonna
the end
say they're
zone
scoring
enough to win
points.
games. Yeah. It's the defensive side of things. And weirdly enough, the kicker who seemed to be really hot early in the year has had some kind of lapses here. Talent's there, the ability's there, but
Right.
and last week or 2 weeks ago, I should say, if they would have made the extra point, doesn't mean they win the game necessarily. But if they had kicked that extra point and made it, they would have been up by a full 7 points. If Arkansas State comes down and drives the field and scores, do they decide to go for 2 and not get it? You know what I mean? So like you could have won that one in some regard. Or, if that changes anything about how the return kick would go or whatever, just little things that could change. But this last week, they had the opportunity to kick the field goal before it even got to overtime. And he missed that one. So they had to go to OT. And then we know Troy won it at that point. So
yeah,
just a rough little skid for Texas State, and rough as they thought they could kind of win this conference before they made their way out, but does not look like it will be the case going in. All right, updated look at the standings. We'll go full screen to show this off here. TJ, I mean, just overall overview, anybody at the bottom that surprises you, anybody at the top that surprises you, or is this kind of making sense right now?
Well, I'll say this in the West. I did not. If you had asked me in the beginning of the season, which you did, where I thought South Alabama was going to finish, I certainly wouldn't have said at the bottom of the West. I don't know what is going on. They run the ball very well, and even last night they played defense very well. It was one drive, and then two, like we talked about, if they kick the field goal, that's a different outcome, different scenario for me. But like I said, in terms of surprises on the West, I am a bit surprised that Coastal's 2. I would have certainly predicted ODU to be 2, probably App State at 3, maybe Marshall or Georgia Southern at 4. You could really interchange either of those, and then Georgia State's where I predicted them to be. I expected Southern Miss at or near the top 4 or 5 in the West. Just because I know the improvements that they were going to make. I will tell you, I'm surprised that they're first, right, in the West and doing as well as they're doing. But based on if you saw week 1 through 3, then now this doesn't surprise you. But if you told me at the beginning of the season that was going to be the case, I would not have believed you. So a couple surprises, couple places where I thought people would be, couple spots where I thought absolutely not. Again, case in point, South Alabama.
Yeah. I'll say Ben James is giving Artie a hard time. He's glad to see those Bobcats near the bottom. I think a lot of people did want to give him that type of a send-off, right? Like, hey, you're leaving the conference. We hope you don't win anything, right? Mm-hmm. So that is happening. That is probably my biggest surprise team, is that Texas State has kind of dropped here recently, right, because I thought these are the types of games that they would win with the offense that they had coming back. I am surprised that the defense is just as bad as it's been. So that's definitely my biggest surprise. But my second biggest surprise, and it's pretty close, is the Cajuns being just 1-1 in conference. That's not ultimately shocking, I guess, because you have that matchup with JMU, and you kind of knew before the season started that one could probably go either way. Yeah, it was a great game too, by the way, for those that didn't watch that one. But the fact that they're 2-4 overall is the surprising part to me. So conference-wise, not shocked, but the 2-4 overall is definitely a mark. I mean, I thought this could be like a 2-loss team. I thought that was the ceiling, but I still thought this could be a 2-loss team. And they've already lost 4 games this early in the year. And we know injuries are a part of that, but that's kind of a shocking part to me. And then on the East, I mean, in a good surprise, ODU 4-2 overall, but it's just that last one's really shocking to me. I mean, you could see a trap game. You could see them get kind of caught up in the top 25. We're better than everyone expected, that kind of thing. But to get beat as badly as they did against Marshall was really, really shocking. But on the East side, my biggest surprise overall, though, is definitely Georgia Southern being 0-2 and just 2-4 overall. This was that Helton team that was going to come back with a returning quarterback for the first time. All the storylines, they're going to be near the top of the East, and they are at the bottom of the East. So not a good showing there from Georgia Southern thus far. But like you said, Georgia State is kind of where we both expected them to be, unfortunately for them. App State looks like they're down there because they're 1-1, but they're 4-2 overall. So again, you've got teams up there that are above them in the standings. Kind of technically, I put Marshall above ODU because they just played each other. You could have put App anywhere along there because they all have that 1-1 record and haven't played each other. So these things will sort themselves out, but that's how it looked, kind of looking at it that way. G. Will says he's a massive Artie Cat fan this week. Because he wants Texas State to get a little revenge, Texas State to get a little revenge on that Marshall program. But that'll be a tough ask because Marshall's playing at home once again. Here's the games of the week, TJ. I think this one is still the biggest. Yes, it took a little bit of a hit with what we just talked about with ODU, but this is the Royal rivalry. Town Bank is the premier sponsor of this big challenge that I think they instated this in 2022. So it's got a great name. It makes sense because of, the Royal aspect of both teams, mascots and everything. I think this one is still kind of the premier one for this weekend, but it's not the only one. So first up on the docket, or, at the same time, I guess technically we should say on ESPN Plus, is Coastal versus App State, 3:30 Eastern, 2:30 Central kickoff. Let's talk about that one first as we preview the Chants versus the Mountaineers. I will be going up the mountain to see this one. I'll be sitting in the north end zone. I'll be with the big wigs. I'll have my pinky out when I'm sipping my drinks over there.
Check you out.
Look at you. But yeah, so okay. And TJ, I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter this week. This is the new big rivalry. App State hates Coastal. Coastal hates App State. From when you played and when I was living in Boone, it was App State, Georgia Southern, and nothing else really mattered, right? It was always had to win that game. With this new grouping of students the last couple years, and currently it seems like Coastal has got the heat more than any other school. I think JMU may even be second and Georgia Southern third when you ask students on campus right now. How does that make you feel as a former player who didn't have that type of interaction with the Coastal Pro? I mean, you guys didn't really play Coastal all that much. You did see them in the playoffs once or twice, but I mean, does this feel more juice to you? You did spend one of these games on the sidelines in Conway for it.
Yeah, I think that I would say the rivalry has built up over the years, especially since Coastal's joined the conference, and I think we all kind of joined it at the same time. But anyway, I think it's certainly picked itself up, and I think a lot of that is a tribute to Coastal. As well as they've recruited, right? And they've been playing pretty well over the past few years. So I think when you get that, and then you get that first win over App State, and the Coastal, they do a lot of talking, right? There's a lot of trash talk back and forth, and us over there at App State, we try to, for the most part, remain as humble as possible, and we sort of keep our head down because we're used to winning, and it's what we do, and that's what the team and the school and the town and really all of North Carolina expects from us. They expect us to win. And then I think with Coastal and their newfound, over the past, I would say 5 or 6 years, their newfound success, I think that's one of those things where it's like, hey, man, slow down. Like, you just got here. We've been doing this. And that's kind of what makes the rivalry even hotter, if you want to call it that. But to me, it's still Georgia Southern or nothing. Like, I to this day, I despise everything that navy blue means in Georgia. So I'll never hate Coastal more than I hate Georgia Southern. So I mean, that's just how it is. I mean, because when I played against Coastal, it was we had them 30-0 at halftime. So there was never any doubt. But I guess listen, I love it. It's good for eyes. It's good for fans. I'm gonna watch it. I've been there during. I've been there. And watch it happen. And like you said, RDK, it's sort of organic, I guess, if you will, because it kind of came out of nowhere. So yeah, I'm with it. I like it. As many rivalries as we can get, let's hate them all.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, I know that people want to get really into it and be like, no, you're wrong. This is the rivalry. But I'm like you. I'll take them all. I want to hate every team that we match up with, and I want them to hate us. That's why, like, from doing this on the outside of like, and we'll talk about this one here too, Southern Miss and Louisiana, that is heated. Like these two teams and these two programs all of a sudden just exploded on what I saw online when they became part of the same conference. And just like, this is great. These two groups of people really don't like each other and want to see each other lose every single time in every single sport. That's why people come back. That's why people watch. That's when you don't have to win every game, but if you're passionate about, I'm mad that we lost or I'm happy as hell that we won, like that's what you want. You want to feel emotion and care. And so I want to see more of that through every single matchup that we can. That would be awesome. To note, App State is winning the all-time series between these two teams, 7-4, but Coastal Carolina has won 4 of the last 5. So they have come on strong and kind of owned this thing recently after App State had, a big head start when the teams probably weren't on equal footing, I would say, right? Like TJ, you were saying, these games weren't close back when you guys first started playing them, but they have changed course here quickly. Even Tim Beck saying today in a press conference or earlier this week, we don't like them and they don't like us. So it'll be interesting to see where Dow Loggins takes that kind of, I don't know, tone or approach to this game, right? Because he's new to this. This is not one he knows.
Put it on the bulletin board. Let the boys get hyped about it. Let them get upset. Oh, they don't like us. Sure, we hadn't give you guys a second thought, but we will now. We will now. Put it on the bulletin board. Who cares?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's going to be a gold out. That's why I wore the gold today on the show. So if you're an App fan and you haven't heard, I'm sure this show's not the one telling you, but it's been all over social media. So if you are going to this game as an App State supporter, wear your gold. If you're going as a Coastal fan, this is when you can wear black if you want to, but it's going to be a beautiful day in Boone. So it's going to be a pretty packed house from the looks of it. And I believe I saw a graphic just this afternoon, the 6th most expensive ticket in all of college football this weekend as well. So App State continuing to kind of set the bar with attendance figures and pricing on tickets because they are so desired. So a great game for anyone to go see live or certainly watch on that ESPN Plus platform. Yeah.
No, I was going to say real quick, another kind of tidbit for that App State Coastal game. This is the weekend that Dexter Jackson gets inducted to the Hall of Fame for App State and for college football. So just to keep that in mind, he'll probably be on the field. They'll probably give him a shout out on the field, but shout out to Dexter Jackson, drafted in the 2nd round to Tampa Bay, had a heck of a career at App State. And so I'm going to give him his flowers while you can still smell them. So if you're watching Dex or if you can see the playback on this, congratulations, man. Hate that I can't be there, but congratulations.
I'll send my warm welcomes to him for you, TJ. Give him a shout. Maybe I can meet up with him and get him on the cam and hear his thoughts on everything since he's been gone and everything. Okay. All right. Next up is the one that is, again, kind of the highlight of the weekend, and that's made none more obvious than the fact that it's been elevated to ESPNU. So this one will be on your TV screens for most of you that get the ESPNU platform. The start time is the same as the App Coastal game, so that's a downside for me because I would like to see both of these games. But ODU, JMU, TJ, we saw what happened to ODU last week against Marshall. We saw what James Madison stepped up to do after kind of looking down themselves the week previous against Georgia State. They responded very well against a very tough opponent, right? As we saw Louisiana kind of coming up recently with the addition of Lunch Winfield at the quarterback position. What do you think happens here? Like ODU have a bounce back. They got the bad game out of their system and they're going to look like themselves. Or is JMU going to come in here and continue looking the way that they've looked most of the season?
I think I can tell you this. We won't see what we saw out of JM or out of ODU last week. He said, please wear some distinguishing uniforms for TV viewers. I agree with you, man. Yeah, we want to make sure we know who we're looking at. But yeah, I man, listen, I think I told you this via text. I'm not touching this with a 10-foot pole. I can't. IU would not get me to bet anything at all on this game because it could go either way. What we saw out of ODU last week is not what we'll see this week. I can almost guarantee you that. I think it's going to be a clash of two Virginia Titans. Quite frankly, the two best Virginia programs that are going on right now. Virginia Tech's not worth a darn. Virginia hadn't had a great season, and I don't even know how long. And I think, in my opinion, if I had to pick a team,
Oh, this is good. Scared money don't make money.
Yeah, listen, G Wills. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, I want to say so badly because ODU needs to have a bounce back type of game. I don't think they can afford to lose 2 in a row, given where they currently sit. So I'm going to take ODU in this game just because of that reason. That said, though, JMU's been playing some quality football. They're 5-1. I don't want to count them out, but I think if any one of these teams had anything to lose, it would be James Madison. I think if ODU loses this game, their hopes for winning the conference or at least winning the East is out of the window.
And that's a tough thing to hear after where they sat just before last week started. But
Right.
You're right. I mean, you're now 2 games back with James Madison, one of the teams that's going to be expected to be up there. As if they have the tiebreaker now, they've got to lose 3 times for you to jump them. That's insurmountable. You're right. That's probably the death sentence there on that one. Unfortunately, one thing I'll say is I expect to see a great game. In the all-time series right now is James Madison 3, ODU 2. So no one's really got anything crazy, except just like the last series we just talked about, James Madison has taken 3 in a row. So ODU started this out many, many years ago, back in 2011 and 2012, jumped out to a 2-0 lead. James Madison's won the last 3. They've been close the past 2 times. That first one back in 2022 was a 37-3 victory for James Madison, but the last 2 games in this series have been 3-point games. So expect another close matchup, no matter who wins it, this Saturday for sure. And G. Will says, "Do."
Yeah. Listen, it looks that way.
I think is what he's trying to say. Yeah. It's just, I will say this is one I'm very glad got elevated. Again, only downside is that they don't come in both as strong as powerful as they were looking just a little bit ago. James Madison, not too bad. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You still, this is the one, honestly, that like you don't want to see it on a Tuesday night necessarily, but this is the one you want everybody to see nationally, right? Because this is what's going to show off the Sun Belt in a little bit better light than what we saw last night, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'd like to see this on a Tuesday or Wednesday solo, and this is the only game plan.
Yeah. All right. The one I mentioned a little bit before, Southern Miss traveling to Lafayette, Louisiana to play the Cajuns down at Cajun Field. This one a little bit later in the afternoon on that ESPN Plus platform, Saturday, 5 Eastern, 4 Central time. This is the big one in the West as far as I'm concerned this weekend, and one of the other and the last games of the week for us. All right, we've got the 2 guys that have been lighting it up here recently, Lunch, Winfield, and Pittman, the running back for Southern Miss. I don't know, because like Lunch is such an X factor, right? Like he can run all over the field. He's got a pretty good arm, but he can be a little bit of that careless, like I'm just going to chuck this one up. And there was a play this past weekend against James Madison where he did just that. And it worked out tremendously in the early part of the game for a huge gain. But it was kind of one of those ones that if you're looking at it as a coach, I'm thinking, dude, don't do that again. Like we got lucky once. Don't do that again. But again, he can beat you both ways. Same thing with Braylon Braxton on the other side. He could run it as good as he can throw it. I probably trust Braxton a little bit more because he's got more of that veteran leadership. He's been doing it from the QB1 position for longer than Lunch has. But part of that may be the advantage to Lunch. Like he's just fearless in that regard. TJ, are you favoring one of these teams more than the other? You think this is another close game this weekend?
I think it's going to be another close game. I don't think I'm. I kind of feel like I feel with ODU and JMU. I don't see that there's a clear cut winner. If I had to bet my money, I'd probably bet right now on Southern Miss, just because of the quarterback play, because of how well right now they're playing on defense. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Cajuns pulled it off.
Yeah. The surprising thing to me is the all-time series in this one. Unlike the other two that we just mentioned, this one is not new. It's kind of newly renewed. Newly
Right.
renewed, but it's not new. Southern Miss leads the all-time series 41-12 with one tie back when they allowed that type of thing to happen. But yeah, 41-12. As of late, Southern Miss has won 2 of the last 3, but the Cajuns did win the last one. Obviously, that coming last year when Southern Miss was pretty bad. We know it was just a 1-win team. But that game was only 23-13, so it wasn't a blowout against a 1-win Southern Miss team. So I'm kind of with you. I think this one's going to be a pretty close game and almost like a coin toss because Louisiana played very well against the James Madison team. And if you're looking at it from the outside, you're probably thinking James Madison on paper should be better than what Southern Miss is right now. So if you say that is kind of how you look at this game, yeah, maybe it's a little bit even here, and we're going to see another great one. And I think that's what we're going to see. I hope that's what we're going to see. And to have this one as kind of a late afternoon game kind of works out, and we'll see if these quarterbacks continue to showcase themselves. Of note, Walker Howard has returned to the program, but it does sound like Coach Des is going to stick with lunch. I'm sure that even though he's come back, I mean, that's kind of early for what they said, for what they thought of initially. He's probably not 100% anyway, so why would you take lunch out of that position? Again, they didn't get the win last week, but I don't think, that wasn't so much on lunch. That's other aspects of the game that didn't go their way besides just the quarterback play. But sounds like we could be in for a really good one again, and excited to hear this one or see this one. Artie Cat says, interviewer, do you travel to Louisiana often? Only on occasion.
That's nice.
Strong dad joke. I have not heard that one, but I like that one. That's good.
That's grade A quality material right there.
Yeah, it absolutely is. All right. You better win. We got Chet on here doing do it, lady. All right. So I leaned on the fact that Troy should get the kind of obvious win over ULM. TJ, what do you think on that one?
Yeah, I'm not going to spend a whole bunch of time on this. I do think Troy gets the W. I don't think it'll be really all that close. I don't want to say all that close. I think Troy wins by 2 scores. I'll say that. Whether it's a field goal, touchdown, 2 touchdowns, I think Troy does. I think Troy puts them away pretty quickly. If
I could see that. I mean, I will say the one thing. Yeah, go ahead.
No. I'm probably going to say the same thing you said. The only caveat is if ULM starts controlling the clock the way they have been in the past with the run game. If they can do that and play some solid defense, they stand a chance. But I do think Troy is going to take the win.
It's kind of along those lines, but it's more on the Troy side of things, right? Like we saw Troy come back and play well in that second half against Texas State. They did not play all that great in that first half, right? So like you said, if ULM does their part while Troy doesn't start off hot and ready for this game, yeah, I don't know if either team can really successfully chase from being down by a lot, although I guess you could say that Troy could do that because that's just what they did last week.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I would favor Troy. That's why I've put that one on that. You better win this one. ULM seems to be down a little bit now for whatever reason after a decent start to the year. Troy owns the all-time series, 12 wins, just 9 losses, and then 1 tie. So this one's not as far out of reach, series-wise as I would have thought, right? I mean, with where Troy has been more recently and where ULM has been, I would have thought this one favored Troy a lot more heavily in the overall matchup department, but not really out of reach for ULM to start making up some ground. So maybe they start this weekend and they pull an upset, but I'm not favoring that one here. Okay, this one probably has some people that don't agree with it, but Texas State versus Marshall is one of those ones that we've had in the past weeks where I'm saying both teams really say they need to win, right? Texas State has to stop the bleeding. and get back on their winning ways to have any shot, any chance. But then Marshall looks like they could be one of the favorites all of a sudden with how they just dismantled ODU this past week. So you better win because Texas State's down, right? You better take advantage of the situation. This one, again, both these games really on ESPN Plus at 3 for the Troy ULM game and 3:30 for Texas State and Marshall. But TJ, we'll start with Artie Cat on this one. He says, honestly, we'll see no one trust we can hold a lead, play special teams, and our defense is obviously horrendously bad. A lot of fan base getting ready for basketball already, which is kind of crazy because I don't know. I got to do my homework too on the basketball aspect. I'm not sure if Texas State is supposed to be, great in basketball this year. A lot of turnaround across the conference in basketball, but if they're getting ready for basketball season, it doesn't bode well because now you're on the road at a very tough place to get a road victory in Huntington, West Virginia, as we saw ODU just try and do it this past week. TJ, thoughts on Bobcats versus Herd?
I'm kind of with you, man. I think if I had to pick somebody who absolutely needed to win, it's absolutely Texas State. Texas State has, they like you said, they hadn't been able to finish games. You would have thought last year, based on just what we saw, that this year would have been a little bit more promising for them. But as bad as the defense has been playing, man, and they can score points. They can score with anybody. That's the crazy thing is like they can score. They remind me of my Dallas Cowboys. We can score 40 every single game. But we can't stop anybody else from scoring 40. And so that's the problem. And if Marshall comes out the way they did against ODU last week, then it'll certainly be one of those things where I know I definitely said it. It'll be one of those things where, we could get another upset and I don't even know that it would be called an upset, but another upset for Texas State. So we just got to see how this thing plays out. We don't know, you never know which version of Marshall you're going to get, but Texas State has absolutely got to win some football games and win them in a way that they close them out, right? Jumping out ahead of somebody is one thing, but you got to be able to close these games out.
Yeah, absolutely. The one thing that you can't lean on here in this game, the only one of the weekend, there is no history between these two programs. Never played each other on the football field before. So that's kind of the intriguing part, alongside with like who should win and why and how. But yeah, we're going to see the first ever matchup between Texas State and Marshall. And it'll probably be a very long time before we ever see it again with Texas State's now known move to the Pac-12 starting next season. So one and done here. Take advantage. If the Texas State fans wanted to see a game up in Huntington, do it this weekend because you probably ain't going to be back anytime soon, and vice versa for the Marshall fans that want to see the Bobcats in person. All right. Let's jump over to the rounding it out section. This is one that should have been on the games of the week, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it because Georgia State and Georgia Southern are sitting at the bottom of the East, right? Both 0-2 within the conference. Not great overall records. We've got one at 2-4, I think, right now, and then one at 1-5. So, I just couldn't bring myself to say either of these teams should also beat the other. I think this is kind of a toss-up. It's a kind of one of the late games of the day. ESPN Plus, Saturday, 7 Eastern, 6 Central Time. We've got Georgia State matching up with Georgia Southern. This one being played down there in Atlanta. Three straight home games for Georgia State. I feel like that's very strange at this point in the season, right?
Yeah, well, you go sometimes with these stretches that you depends on how scheduling goes, that you get these home stretches. I don't think it's going to matter very much. Georgia State's not a good football team. They don't, and I think Georgia Southern travels really well. I think it'll be much more Georgia Southern in that stadium than Georgia State. Artie Cat says you can probably flip a coin. I'm willing to, probably tag along and say the same thing. Neither team is great, but if I got to pick one, I'm going with Georgia Southern, as much as it pains me to say it.
Yeah, and I have to apologize. Even on the graphic, I usually have them in a certain order. This one is in Polson. This one at Georgia Southern, so that is my mistake on the graphic here and saying it. So that probably even furthers your reaction to go with Georgia Southern, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Georgia State isn't going to have that sold-out energy. Not even there won't be 19,000 in attendance, as they've said the past 2 weeks in Atlanta this time around. There might actually be 19,000 in Polson. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, there might be.
here's the interesting thing in this one. Who leads the all-time season or all-time series here, TJ? You want to take a stab at it?
Well, I mean, my natural pick would be Georgia Southern, but now that you're quizzing me, I feel like I got to take Georgia State.
That's true. I kind of gave it away there, but it is a 1-game difference. They've played 11 times. Georgia State has won 6. Georgia Southern just 5. Throw the records out the books in this all-time rivalry because it doesn't matter who's down and who's up. Like, these two teams come up with the craziest ways to beat each other in certain years. So, this year they're actually very even across the board with overall record and winless in the conference. So maybe even a little bit more heated here. But I'm kind of like you. If they're playing in Paulson, Georgia Southern, has been there a little bit better and a little bit more consistently so far than Georgia State has, as far as like those big games and knowing how to handle them. Coach Helton is a veteran coach, where Coach McGee not quite as seasoned, really, and not with the greatest of teams that he's ever had here at Georgia State just yet. He's still trying to put those rosters together. Got some really talented players, but it's just a tough go so far. I think I favor the Eagles here in this one as well. And that'll wrap up the game previews. But now we're going to get into the best bets. TJ and I have done our best to put a little stamp of approval on some of these things that we're going to see here. So we'll go full screen on this one. You took a chance on that first one of the day with Troy and ULM, the spread favoring Troy at -6.5 points. And you say go with that one, huh?
Yeah, I think even though the game's in Monroe, I think Troy is a little bit better. I think they're going to score. And like I said, I think I picked this earlier when I said at least a touchdown more than ULM will. ULM can control the clock. They can control the ball, and they've done that in the past. I don't think this is one of those weeks that they get that done, just like they did last week. So I'm taking Troy to cover.
Nice. All right, we've got that one that we talked about, that heated new rivalry with Coastal Carolina and App State. The spread favors the Mountaineers by 10.5 points. I think what Coastal did last week against ULM, as much of a surprise as it was, it still wasn't like overly impressive, right? If you go look at the statistics of how they won that game, they still weren't really great on offense. It was more of ULM just not showing up at all. And I think App State got rolling there against Georgia State. I think they've been moving the ball very well. The only reason they didn't win a few more games or score more points throughout the way was because of the ball security aspect. I think J.J. Cole's taken a lot better care of the ball. App State playing at home, I think they not only cover the 10.5, I could see them winning by 14 or 17 points in this game. But this is where we got the little Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith here, TJ. You're taking Coastal versus the spread in this one.
Yeah, I think with a rivalry, we talked about it a little bit earlier, as I don't want to say that runs as deep. It's not a deep rivalry. It just maybe started in, 2017, 2018. It's not one of those that has been a rivalry that's gone on. It's just the way it's sort of organically happened. And the deep disdain that these two teams have for each other, they'll be up to butt some heads. Coastal always gets up to play App always gets up to play Coastal. I can't imagine, although I think Appalachian State is a better football team, I think Coastal is going to give us the game that they want to give us. So I'm taking them against the spread. I say App State wins by 7, maybe a touchdown, and I think they do it late.
Okay. Well, hey, I mean, the part that I'm fine with that is if I'm there, I want to see a great game, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
If that what comes to play, then I'll still be okay with that ending. You didn't really take anything on the Royal rivalry, but I did. So, and I can see why. I mean, confidence isn't 100 on this one for me, but to me, I see ODU rebounding and getting out of this one with a victory over the Dukes. I've seen some chinks in the armor for JMU over the past 2 weeks. I know that they still looked pretty good against Louisiana, but do they show up like that, or do they have some problems with some penalties and just not looking great on offense with the chemistry like they did against Georgia State. I mean, they moved the ball, they just couldn't put it in the end zone. If that's going to happen against an ODU team who's probably a little pissed off about how they responded last week, I think they're going to look a little bit sharper on offense and be ready to put some scoreboard points up there. I'm taking ODU straight up over JMU. And it may look stupid in the end, but that 1.5 points at home for JMU doesn't give me confidence that Vegas really trusts the Dukes to get it done. So I'm taking my chance on ODU and the Monarchs this week. TJ, take us into that. Well, give me anything you want on that one about why you didn't, and then jump into that Texas State Marshall matchup.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit earlier, man. You can't get me to bet anything on this. I'm not giving you a quarter on this game. I'm not picking this game. And then Vegas at 1.5, they sort of, I mean, they kind of agree with you and I, right? It could be one score one way or the other. It's going to be a great game. We all, I think, agree that that's going to be the case. I just think the way that ODU, and I talked about it a little bit earlier, the way ODU got beat up on last week, I think that they come out with, guns blazing. And they can't afford it. Like we said, they cannot afford to lose 2 conference games. They're out of it. They are out of it in the East, and they're certainly out of it for the entire conference to have a shot at winning it. So I think that because they know that, and because their proverbial backs are against the wall, I'm taking ODU, but not by much.
Gotcha. All right, and you are taking Texas State in this next one.
Yeah, I'm taking Texas State to cover the spread. I don't see Marshall giving us what they gave us last week, 2 weeks in a row. They've got to prove it to me. They have not. They don't have a good track record of putting games together for a long time, unless they are, unfortunately, L's. And I think 2 years ago they lost 6 games, their last 6 games of the season, which was insane. I think it was 2 or 3 years ago that happened. And then last year, they were up and down all over the place. I think that's another classic case of I can't trust them yet. Although the game is in Virginia. West Virginia. Sorry, the game's in West Virginia. I just don't see Marshall pulling it out. And with the high power offense that Texas State has now, as high powered as that offense is, that defense is also the counterpart that gives Marshall the shot that I think Vegas is thinking of. But I think Texas State outscores them.
Okay. I could see it. I'm not totally against that thought process, but my thing is go look at Marshall's overall record at home over the past decade. It's really, really impressive. They struggle to lose at home, much like App State does as well. But Marshall's record over that past so many years is actually better than even App State's. So it is tough to beat the herd there. They just showed how powerful they can be at home against ODU this past weekend. I think ODU's defense is better than Texas State's, and we just saw what Marshall was able to do there. My question, probably to go with your point, is Texas State's offense may be right alongside ODU's, right? Neck and neck, maybe better, maybe just barely worse. I mean, there's a lot of metrics you could use to judge that. But if this becomes a scoring, who can score more, what I trust is Marshall's defense to step up a little bit more than I do Texas State's, and that's why I'm taking the herd straight up at home in this one.
That's fair.
But yeah, I see your point, and it's valid, and I like that total of 67.5 as well, because I think we will see another big scoring output in this game. I almost went with that, but I thought, maybe the money's better if you put it on Marshall straight up than going with the 67.5 point total. Hey, guess who showed up?
Hi, Destiny.
We've won 4 games, by the way. That's what she wants to say to you.
You have, and I gave you your credit. I don't know if you were watching the show earlier. I gave you guys your props. I did not predict that you guys would be on top of the West, and that's me open mouth, insert foot. But listen, I'm going to ride the wave the rest of the year. Don't disappoint me, because if they disappoint me, I will come find you. On whatever social media platform you live on, I will come find you.
Oh man, yeah, that one's a Twitter battle that I would pay to see. Southern Miss, as we're talking about Destiny's favorite team, Southern Miss versus the Cajuns. I'm like you with the ODU JMU matchup on this one. I'm not touching it. I don't know which way it's going to go. 3.5 points for either team wasn't going to be something that I was going to take.
No.
I'm not even sure about the point total, the 53.5. None of it. Didn't like any of it. I just think it's going to be a great game. I want to watch it, but that's all I want to do with this one.
Yeah, same thing. I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole. I think it's going to be a great scoring, a great football game to watch, but I'm not picking either side.
No. All right, let's get to this last one here. As Destiny says, she was late to the party, but she does accept your props, TJ. So we do have a little,
you deserve
it. handshake thing there. Georgia State versus Georgia Southern. Immediately when I saw the spread, Georgia Southern -6.5, I said, yeah, I'm going to take that. This is Georgia Southern game. Then I'm reminded of the all-time series at just 6-5. There's something weird that happens in this. And look, we saw Georgia State just play a one-score game against a very good JMU team. And we've seen Georgia Southern, put some points on the board, but not get a lot of great stops defensively. We saw them then fall behind against Southern Miss and then try and come back there at the very end and make it a game. Can they win by 6.5? Hell yeah, they definitely could. Do I trust them to do it?
Nope.
Hell no, I don't.
Nope.
So that is almost the same as the game above it, but there's just even more reasoning behind that one to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, TJ, thoughts on the two Georgia schools matching up for you?
You said it. You said everything that I was thinking. I'm not touching it with a 10-foot pole. I think it could go either way. And like you said, some weird stuff has been happening. I picked Georgia Southern to win, but if I'm thinking they're going to win by 6.5, hell no. I don't, because they've given me nothing. They've given me nothing to believe that is the case and that will happen. So absolutely not. I do think both defenses suck. So 60.5 points is probably fair. You're probably looking at 31-28 at the end of it all. But I couldn't tell you which way it goes.
Yeah. I wasn't confident enough in anything on there, but you're right. I would probably lean towards the total, if anything. My only question mark would be like Georgia State offensively kind of finding a rhythm. That's one thing that so far I feel like we haven't seen from them. Like they've scored some points. It's kind of come later in the games when other people have pulled the dogs off, a la App State, a la any of the SEC teams they played early in the year. Anyway, that will wrap it up for the best bets section, which is quickly becoming one of our favorite ones and getting some social media interaction.
I'm glad you guys suggested it.
You did. And we had some people that wanted to, get it as a weekly feature. It's been fun. Actually, that's one of my favorite ones to put together, right? Like sometimes I feel like picking the best games and all that's like, there's kind of trying to make some stuff happen there sometimes, but the best bets is really a lot of fun. And again, if you guys are putting some stuff together to kind of challenge us and say, hey, these are mine, throw them out there. We'd love to see them and hear them and, make some money on yourself or off of us. Maybe, I don't know.
We'll see. We're not the smartest bunch, but we watched enough to kind of know what happens. I watched enough Georgia Southern and Georgia State to know that don't touch it.
Yeah. That one. Don't play with that one. Don't trust the Blues down there, I guess.
No,
not
at all.
All right, TJ. Any last final thoughts for the people before we get out of here on this Wednesday night?
No, as always, thank you guys for checking us out. We'll be coming at you every Wednesday, man. We love doing this, and we love that you guys are interactive. So we appreciate you.
Yeah, absolutely. I only have one final thought. A lot of work going in on the website, sunbeltsyndicate.com. Very easy. Go check it out. Reward the writers with some clicks. Can't give them anything just yet, but if they see those clicks coming in, people are reading what they're writing. It's worth the effort that they're doing. A lot of them are college kids trying to earn college credits. So there's an extra aspect to that, and we want to see them do good things. Some of them are some really, really good writers, by the way. But that is my final push for the evening. For TJ Courman and Dominick Crosetto, see y'all next time.